Welcome back to another edition of Research Fantasy presents our CFL DFS breakdown for Week 8 of the CFL season. I'm riding high after our premium package last week took me to a 5th, 7th, and 9th, as well as a 41st and 49th, being my top 5 lineups in the DraftKings $4 tournament. I think our skill will continue this week, and don't forget to check out our premium content, which is updated all weekend. We are not just putting out articles and saying play this person. I read a lot of articles across the industry who told me that Armani Edwards was just the best play out there, but we knew he wasn't even going to take the field. So if you want to get a jump on the field for $5 a week, head over to researchfantasy.com. Sign up for our CFL premium package. Enough about that. Let's break down the slate this week. I'm going to drop one player from each position. I'll give you 2 wide receivers. And this is just really how I see things breaking down. And at quarterback, we've got Mike Reilly, 11K. Edmonton Eskimos at Ottawa Redblacks. Yeah, here's the reality of the situation. Mike Reilly is the best guy going right now at the quarterback position. He has turned it on. He has something like 3 consecutive 30-point fantasy outings. You cannot expect him to continuously get rushing touchdowns. His stats have been bolstered over the last 2 weeks by 2 rushing touchdowns apiece, and that's going to stop. You know, if he has 1 rushing touchdown and the running back gets another one, or they have to kick a field goal, all of a sudden last week he's down to 34, which is still incredibly good, but probably would have costed some people some spots in GPPs. Nonetheless, I don't see how you don't go here. The Red Blacks defense is absolutely horrible, even though he has no healthy receivers to throw to. Right now we know Adarius Bowman is out. Duke Williams was held out last week. And Brandon Zylstra, another lineup killer. Thank you very much, Mr. Zylstra and Mr. Andrew Harris, for absolutely decimating lineups last week. Both of those guys I ended up overweight on and still finished pretty solidly. Nonetheless, it is looking like I'm trying to pull up. Yeah, there's no real new news on Zylstra. The depth charts will be released today, as thankfully the Edmonton game is the first game to play. But regardless of who is catching passes, I firmly expect Mike Reilly to be the top scoring quarterback this week. A secondary pick, and a lot of people aren't really in the love Cody Fajardo bandwagon, but lineup construction is going to be a big deal this weekend. We'll get into why in just a second. And Fajardo ends up being a pretty solid option when you consider what he's going to bring with his legs. There's no point where he's going to come out of the game, and this is contingent on Ricky Ray not starting, which I have not seen any indication one way or another, but all I'm going to say is it's interesting. I'll have more of a write-up on that at researchfantasy.com on our premium package. Running back. So your options are LaDarius Perkins at 3K. It's a joke. I mean, DraftKings should be absolutely embarrassed at themselves because they continue to misprice players on a regular basis. This is a starting running back now for a team who runs the ball, who this player just accumulated over 100 rushing yards last week, and now he's going to dominate ownership to the point where your best bet is to not play him in tournaments, honestly, because everybody's going to have him. So in the circumstance that he finishes with 6 fantasy points, like we saw Andrew Harris finish with 9 last week and just absolutely decimate lineups, you're going to be ahead of the game because this guy is going to be 50 plus, 60 plus, 70 plus % owned. Like, nobody has their head under the sand about this guy. They know what he's doing, what's going to happen there. I mean, it really paints a really bad picture when you can put in LaDarius Perkins and anyone else you want. And that's going to be the strategy for a lot of people. And in CFL, it's not like other sports. If you know a minimum price player is going to play in the NBA, You're going to drop in Westbrook, you're going to drop in Karl Anthony Towns because you know their floors are 40 points, but if this scrub gets you 25, 30 fantasy points in basketball, those 40 and 50 point games are just fine by you because all that matters at the end of the day is the total amount of points scored. It doesn't matter if Westbrook makes value. It just matters that they have the most points. So Perkins is really going to jack things up. Like I said, in tournaments, my strategy is going to be I'm going to be underweight on LaDarius Perkins. There's no question about it. I'm not saying that this guy is going to bust. I'm saying like you have to play the numbers, and the numbers dictate that Perkins is going to have a ridiculous ownership. As a pivot, I like William Powell. He's questionable. I've seen a few people saying already that Powell is not going to play, but I have not seen that yet. Right now, Powell is still questionable, so until we actually see him ruled out, I'm not overreacting. Moving on to wide receiver. Let's go Darvin Adams, 7,600. Winnipeg Blue Bombers taking on the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Did you know the Tiger Cats are awful? Did you know that? They're horrible. Horrible. And Winnipeg is not, at least offensively. I think this is a situation where Matt Nichols could rival Mike Reilly for ownership, but I don't really think so. I think people are just going to spend up for Reilly. I think they're going to see that 10-5 price on Nichols and say, forget that mess. I've got LaDarius Perkins on my back. I don't need to spend on the guy playing Hamilton. Nonetheless, I don't care who's back there. It doesn't matter. This defense has been run through. Adams is a top-tier playmaker. I expect Nichols to push the ball to him a lot this week. He's someone I want in my lineups. Chris Williams, 8,500 from the BC Lions against Saskatchewan Roughriders. Williams is probably the most dynamic playmaker and fastest guy in the CFL. Roughriders has a solid defense, but there's nothing to stop him with his feet under him after last week. I expect BC to test things more often, and I expect them to go deep quite a bit, and Chris Williams should be another guy that finishes well. Don't discount Bryant Mitchell, regardless of who returns. He's in an excellent matchup this week as well. All right, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Check us out at researchfantasy.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Research and Win, and join us again tomorrow.